Hello there and welcome to Forever Formula One. It is race week, Japan Grand Prix this coming Sunday, and what a week ahead we've got because it's going to be a very interesting Grand Prix for several reasons. And the big story this week really is Yuki Tsunoda on his home Grand Prix will debut for Red Bull and hopefully a special edition livery from Red Bull, which has been teased but not yet released by Oracle Red Bull, and we expect to see the white livery make a return. And I tell you what, if it's anything like the Haas livery that has been leaked, well, not even leaked, but released, then we should be in for a very good looking grid because Haas have absolutely smashed it out the park with their livery for this weekend. And we have a look at that in a little bit, as well as looking at some of the rumors around the Formula One world, looking about Yuki Tsunoda and what he's feeling and his sort of ambitions for the weekend. We'll have a look at the Haas livery. We'll also talk a little bit about the compounds for this weekend, with the hardest compound available, the C1, being debuted this weekend for the first time this season. So before we get into it, please do smash a like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel as well. Japan is always a fun Grand Prix, and it's really cool to see how the drivers, the teams, and everybody really gets behind sort of the whole cultural part of it. And we see special liveries, we see special helmet designs, and what a moment for Yuki Tsunoda to be spattered on posters all over Japan, where he is, alongside Max Verstappen in his first race for Red Bull. Liam Lawson back in the colors of the V Carb. A big weekend for him as well, and I've got a very bad feeling that we're going to see him potentially out qualify and potentially outperform Yuki Tsunoda if he can really adapt to that racing ball quickly, because I do think that it's so much more than just the driver and being the issue at Red Bull. And unfortunately, I think for Yuki Tsunoda, who deserves a shot in the Red Bull, he's been consistent in that V-Carb for a while for the last few years, but hasn't really been given that opportunity to really sort of take a step up. Unfortunately, I think that that's a very difficult car to drive, and I don't think that he's going to suddenly sort of click into gear as soon as this weekend and everything's going to be okay. I think that it's really cool to see him in that racing in that Red Bull, but I predict him to struggle. And I think that Liam Lawson, who had pace last year in that V Carb, if he can get back to grips with that car nice and quickly, then I expect him to have a lot of pace this weekend. And it'll be an absolute marketing disaster if they replace Yuki Tsunoda, to replace Liam Lawson with Yuki, and he goes on to outperform in the first weekend, especially because it's Yuki's home Grand Prix. So that's what I'm really hoping, that Yuki really does step up. But in terms of the race itself, it's all about Yuki, isn't it? And I thought this was a very, very cool post saying that, back in 2007, Yuki Tsunoda was posing with that iconic Mercedes. Lewis Hamilton drove to a world title, and now he's going to be standing in amongst them in a Red Bull this weekend, in a genuine title challenging car, or team rather at the moment. The car itself is a little bit off the pace, and I think if it weren't for Max Verstappen being Max Verstappen, I think they'd be really struggling at the moment. They are really struggling in the constructors because Liam Lawson doesn't score any points, and Max Verstappen is getting everything he can out of the car, but he's still not exactly dominating. So in terms of Yuki's reaction, it's talking about the fact that it's basically a dream come true, and as I said, this is why it's so exciting, because it's a homeboy getting his debut in a home race, and the crowd's going to absolutely love it, isn't it? The big thing for him is that he's targeting a podium, and he's basically said that I think he understands the expectations. The one thing that he will understand, the expectation, is the fact that he's there to score points this weekend, and they've been pretty brutal now with Liam Lawson, which means that it means one of two things. Either Red Bull have to really back Yuki and give him the rest of the season, or they're going to be as brutal. And if, 2 or 3 races down the line, he's not performing and Lawson's performing there, and then maybe they do another switch, for example. So it'll be interesting to see if this is going to be a full season backing for Yuki, or whether this is a short-term thing when they decide who's actually got the pace, because the big thing they're basically saying is that they want to win the constructors. They have to get that world championship back, and they're going to do everything they can to get that. And it's no time really for any sort of sentiment. It's all about the points. And if Yuki's not getting the points either, then I think they'll look to make a swap as well. So his big dream is to get a podium this weekend, which I think is unlikely. I think that if he had a couple more weeks with the car and he had a couple of races and stuff like that, then maybe, and we're not entirely sure what to expect from the Red Bull this weekend in terms of the pace they might have. But this is what's going to be quite exciting, is that we're expecting to see a potential special livery. Last time the Red Bull, debuted a special livery for Japan was back in 2021, the RB16, and they did do that white livery. It's a gorgeous livery, and they had the entire Red Bull team in the all white. So maybe Yuki Tsunoda, for example, could actually be debuting for Red Bull in an all white Red Bull racing suit. They definitely could be in an all white car, which would be quite interesting, in terms of his first race moving away from the white V-carb and it's into a white Red Bull. I think that white V-carb is the best livery on the track, to be perfectly honest. So that is what it looked like, and hoping we're going to see something similar. They have teased it. So this was a post that Red Bull put up on Twitter earlier today, and they actually had a video of the car driving in and basically said, coming soon type of thing. So we are expecting to see a white livery get the debut. There are leaked images, so you can see that it is going to be white, basically, if these images are correct. What entirely it's going to look like, we're not entirely sure, but one thing I'm hoping that it's going to look like is the Haas, because the Haas have released a stunning livery, and this is what it's going to look like when they take the track this weekend. Smashed out the park, as far as I'm concerned. That is so cool. I think it is such a cool livery. I love the flowers all over it. I love the pink of it. And Haas have had some very nice liveries in the past, but I think this is my personal favorite. And I think everybody loves a special edition livery, don't they? It's always so cool, especially Japanese Grand Prix. We've had a very interesting start to the season, and this is one of should hopefully be a really cool. Just look at the top there, and it's a really nice design. I would have loved to have seen them go with the white rear wing. I think that's the one thing I probably would have changed. And I'm not entirely sure about the red with the pink. It is slightly jarring, but overall, in general, I think it's been done very well. And that's going to be a standard. There could be a lot of white cars on the grid this weekend if Red Bull decide to go with that white livery that they've teased. And we expect to see it. Hopefully, we'll have that tomorrow when we do our show in terms of seeing exactly what theirs going to look like. But the Haas, They've come out fighting with a good livery, and now it's up to Red Bull to see if they can kind of match that sort of a vibe. And then other news is that we are going to see this compound debut. So this weekend we will be seeing the C1, which is the hardest compound available, being made available in Japan. So we're going to have C1, C2, and C3 in the tires, and a couple of the information there. You can see how there's a lot of stress on the tires, a 5 out of 5 stress when it comes to the sort of the circuit information, and that is why they've gone with the hardest compound, which is going to last the longest. And you can see there some of the information about the circuit itself. It's going to be 53 laps this weekend, which is a race distance of 307 kilometers. And so I'm just going to make it a bit bigger so you can actually read it a bit better. There we go. And it's 5.8 kilometers per circuit. The lap record was set by Lewis Hamilton back in 2019 of a 1:30.983. I reckon we could see a McLaren go faster than that. They are looking seriously quick. And with the way that they just only seem to be getting better, then I think that it could very well be this weekend's time to see a record be knocked out for what is it, 6 years, 7 years. So it should be really cool. I'm excited for this weekend. And in terms of your times, not phenomenal times. So that's probably always the only sort of big issue with sort of something like a Japanese Grand Prix. It's a cool Grand Prix, but the times are not great. So if we look at the schedule, I think we're looking at here we go. If you're in so the local time and the track time is the race at 2 o'clock. But for those around the world, if you're in the UK, for example, it's at 5 a.m. in the morning. Qualifying is at 6 on Saturday. The first practice, by the way, is at 2:30 in the morning. And so not ideal times. After this, it gets a little bit better when we move to Bahrain in a week's time, because that is a race time of 3 o'clock if you're in the UK. Qualifying at 4 o'clock, for example, your first practice, your earliest session is at 11:30. So that becomes very watchable, and looking forward to getting to those sort of times as we go into that sort of swing. We've got Bahrain, Saudi. It's a very full April, because we go Japan, Bahrain, Saudi, and then a week off, and then we're going Miami, and then we go into a cool little sort of Italy swing of Emilia Romagna, and we've got Monaco, Spain, and then we go to North America, back Canada, back to Austria. I mean, the Canada doesn't always sort of work out really. I think if you look logistically, it's very interesting to see the way they've kind of gone through it, because, yeah, they're kind of going everywhere at the moment, aren't they? But, yeah, that's what we're going to wait to see. So the big question I want to ask is, can Yuki score points this weekend? Can he get that dream podium? Or is that maybe just dreaming a little bit too much? Let me know down in the comments below. Smash a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel as well. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Steve. I'll chat to you soon.